Hello friends, my name is Reverend Som-Fianko and this is the chapter 5 review of my book, Start: How to Lay Spiritual, Mental and Practical Foundations for a Successful Year in the 21st Century. Now in the chapter 5, I spoke about the third important law you need to make your year successful, and that is the law of priorities. The law of priorities. Doing what matters most. In 1 Corinthians 14 verse 33, the Bible said, God is not the author of confusion. In other words, anytime our life seems to be confused, it should be an indication unto us that God is not in whatever we are doing. And that is why it is very, very important that confusion should reveal unto us that maybe it is time to go back to God, because God is not the author of confusion. And so in states of confusion, what we ought to do is to look for God. And we will not be able to look for God very well if our priorities are in the wrong places. Life does not reward good intentions, it rewards right priorities. Many people fail not because they lack vision or spirituality, but because they are distracted in life. When you are distracted, you can have vision. When you are distracted, you can be the most spiritual, but if you do not know what to do at the right time and what not to do at the right time, if you do not know how to separate these things, you will always think that your life is at a standstill or you are not moving on in life. And most often than not, it's not because your vision is not working. It's not because God is not with you. It is because you are not prioritizing. And that is why in this new year, you need to make sure you prioritize in your life. In this book, I also explained how nobody drifts mistakenly into excellence. No, you don't mistakenly bump into excellence. You rather drift into disorder, you drift into failure, you drift into pain, you drift into perplexity. If you want excellence, it has to be intentional. If you want excellence, you have to prioritize. If you want excellence, you have to plan. If you want excellence, you need to know what to do at the right time and what not to do at the right time. Excellence is always the product of intentional choices, prioritizing. No life becomes fruitful by accident. Disorder, however, creeps in quietly when we don't even know. And that is why if you don't prioritize, know of a surety that it's just a matter of time. Disorder, failure, pain, perplexity, tiredness becomes a friend of yours. And that is why this year you need to learn to prioritize. In the same chapter also, I spoke about how being busy is one of the most common excuses people give for an unproductive life. The fact that you are busy does not mean you are being productive. It is very important. Activity creates the illusion of progress, and yet activity is not progress. The fact that you are moving does not mean you are moving towards a specific direction. You can actually be moving and yet you are moving towards the wrong direction. And that is why priorities and making plans and knowing what to do always helps us to move to the right direction. And so all the time, you need to understand this law, the law of priority. And that is why I also encourage you to get this book, a life-transforming book that is going to change your understanding and help you to even know how to prioritize and when to make time for other things, so that you have sanity, so that you will live a fulfilled year. And then at the end of the year, it will not just be like last year or last 2 years, but you can calculate how much movement you made towards your vision for life, and also be able to calculate the progress you've made, even the profit you've made, and how much you've lost, so that it will help you to know whether the year is better than the one before, and the one before that, and the one before that also. This helps you to even project new plans and prioritize for the new year ahead of this very one we are in. The Lord bless you, and make sure you get a copy of my book, Start: How to Live Spiritual, mental, and practical foundations for a successful year in the 21st century. My name is Reverend Som-Fianko. Follow me on all social media platforms and let's get interactive. If you want a copy of this book, just send a WhatsApp message to +233 240 545700. +233 240 545700. The Lord bless you. Bye-bye.